The objectives for this presentation are to review the budget process and the timeline. So we'll walk through what that looked like. The key priorities, which I'll discuss. We're going to talk about revenue and appropriation information generally. What we've done in this presentation is we've consolidated the beginning of it. So there's a very lengthy appendix. If you want to look at the very detailed information, it's really the same information from the tentative budget presentation. That's been placed in an appendix because we don't necessarily need to go through all of that again. Indicate the tax impact, and then we will be completed. You'll notice in the agenda that a public budget hearing does require an opportunity for public comment. So at the end of this presentation, we will sit back down, and if you, a member of the public, if you have any comments or questions, we are certainly happy to take them. So the budget presentation is really built on the district goals, and those of you that have been following our work over the last year and a half know that we've basically had the same 3 district goals since they were implemented at the beginning of last school year. Goal 1 is academic success. Goal 2 is student wellness and school climate. Goal 3 is construction project and fiscal health. These have shifted just moderately based on last year, from last year to this year. We've had a lot of progress in terms of our construction projects, so Goal 3 has changed a little bit. We've also shifted the focus in Goal 2 from intervention and referral to really focusing on school climate and trying to build a positive school climate. Academic success and data use is very much the same goal as it was before, and that was supported really tremendously by the addition of new staff, new assessment protocols, and other things that we've brought into the district this year. So our enrollment by grade band, and if you've looked at past board information, and if you were present at the last board meeting, we did complete a full demographers report, which is available on the district website. It indicates that over the next 5 years, enrollment in Dunellen Public Schools is projected to go up to about 1,450, and that's not including the increased number of preschool students. So that's 1,450 students based on 36 preschool students and the rest really K-12. During that report, the demographer also shared information about the significant facilities issues that we will have with housing all of those students. Right now, the current status of our buildings is sort of busting at the seams, and we're really doing the best that we can, but we anticipate more students. As you look at enrollment trends over the last couple of years, sort of taking out the COVID year or the COVID years as a marker, we had a really significant increase of students from 22-23 to the 23-24 school year, and we anticipate another moderate increase for next year. So we're planning for that in terms of staffing, sectioning, class sizes, et cetera. The budget process and timeline is listed here. Basically, this is a process that begins in November. It is a very inclusive process. All of the administrators are involved. There's a lot of feedback from staff members that are provided about wish list items and other types of things that might be of interest. And then we meet with each of the budget managers. Mr. Pepe, our business administrator, and I work on reviewing the budget with the board's operations committee. Board members are very involved in the conversations as we move forward about what we should be thinking about, what we would like to add, et cetera. We approved the tentative budget on March 12th, and here we are May 7th at the public hearing and adoption. So key budget priorities, and this is really listed by goal item to give you a sense of kind of how we think about things. So in terms of academics, we have new standards that the state is requiring us put into place, and with that comes new curricular materials. So we have new curricular materials, pretty much K-12 for math and language arts. We're also working on really re-articulating most of our curricular areas, which kind of needed a reboot, I should say. So we have new standards that are being put into practice and new materials for those. We have significant increase in special education, the focus on special education instruction. And so looking at core programming in special education courses, having aligned materials for each of the courses that we offer for students, and a progression of courses as students mature through the system. We have looked at instructional coaching, and we will continue to focus on instructional coaching as we move forward next year to try to get some universal principles for what good instruction looks like. We have continued to fund our arts programs, and we are continuing to add significant funding for the replacement and fixing of instruments. We are continuing, obviously, the summer arts program, which is very exciting, and we know that students love that. We're continuing our partnership with Teen Arts NJ, which has been really great for our students, and we will continue to fund those programs fully so that our students can have that experience. Other curricular enhancements that we're looking at, including things like STEM facilities, looking at the high school specifically, and also the media center at Faber, as well as other items. Assessment and data collection is a big piece of understanding academic progress. And so we implemented this year a program called Link It, which is an assessment and data warehouse program. Link It has done well in certain aspects of the work, but has left us sort of feeling a need for a different type of approach in other areas. So you'll notice on this agenda, we have an approval for a program called Abre. They are a partner of ours that will be working on data analytics with us to try to get really good data in the hands of teachers and principals. This is really going to start at the district level and at the building level, probably not a lot at the teacher level to begin, but the goal is to get very good actionable data as quickly as possible to be able to intervene in students' learning in a positive way. Universal screening and aligned academic interventions is very much part of the same goal process. PLCs and staff collaboration is an important piece of this in terms of building staff capacity. One thing that is actually not in this budget presentation, and board members, this is actually new information. Late this afternoon, we learned that we are receiving a $125,000 grant from the DOE. And it's the Teacher Climate and Culture Grant. And so we're going to talk about what that looks like. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So this is a competitive grant that we put together, and it is really geared towards trying to make the lives of our staff members a little bit easier by streamlining processes and the practices that we have. And so, you know, there's more on that. That will be really something that we put together very collaboratively with the DEA leadership and at the building level and things like that. And then, of course, the last piece is multilingual learner supports. So we have had a significant increase in the number of multilingual learners. Right now, we're about 18% of our school population is a multilingual learner. We're about 60% Hispanic as an overall school population. And so we've significantly increased the number of teachers. The way that we've taught multilingual learners has changed as well to try to make their program to be more inclusive. So we've kept them in their general homerooms with push-in support as much as possible, and we will continue that moving forward for next year. School climate, we have security enhancements that we're talking about, which includes the addition of new security officers that will be working with the district. It also includes another look at different types of camera equipment that we have, where we have cameras placed, and the types of data processing and data warehousing that we have for cameras in case of adverse actions. Collaboration with community groups and related providers. So right now we've been working with a group called Urban Assembly. We're looking at potentially re-upping our contract with them based on type of SEL coaching that they've provided. This is not necessarily something that we are guaranteeing, but we are going to look for providers that can provide support in those areas. SEL programming for students is something we've also explored. This would be direct instruction on SEL practices for students at each grade level. We have an in-house support framework, which is new this upcoming year. The district for the last couple of years has been using a program called Thrive, which is a third-party mental health support program. We have Thrive clinicians in the district. We have 2, and the funding for that has been entirely paid for through the federal ESSER grants. So given the nature of their work and the cost of the program, we determined that it would be a better move for us to provide this support framework through in-house staff. So we're looking at adding 2 staff members who will be called school-based wellness specialists to provide tier 3 support for our students who are in significant need of mental health supports or counseling or group counseling. And then obviously data collection, which is a part of that tiered system of supports. For facilities, we're looking at our referendum projects and just trying to close those out. We still have many open items on the projects that were 2019 and 2020 awarded. We also have preschool expansion, which we're looking at. We have our current preschool wing, which was completed through the use of capital reserve funds. and which also still needs some additional TLC in order to be fully operating. We have other internal needs and concerns. I do want to thank Mr. Pepe and Ronnie Haynes, who's our Director of Facilities. He's really done an incredible job responding to the needs of staff and ensuring that our systems are in the best shape possible. So safety and security, new signage, infrastructure upgrades in terms of technology, new devices, iPads, iMacs, Chromebooks obviously, and other computers for staff members. We're looking at E-rate reimbursement. E-rate is a program through the FCC that provides reimbursement for certain types of communication technology. And then a really big significant aspect of our work is to try to maintain healthy reserve accounts. So at the beginning of the presentation, I showed the enrollment update, and we are going to need to expand our buildings in some sort of way. So in order to do that, we do need to continue to support our reserve accounts, and that means contributing to them and making sure that they're at an adequate level for us to begin moving towards that work. In terms of those projects, those capital projects, we are in the process of updating our long-range facility plan. We've met with an architect firm called LAN. They've done very good work for us in terms of the LRFP. And we will be developing a multi-year plan to spread the costs of those projects across time. For those of you that don't know, the LRFP is basically a list of all of the construction projects and internal projects that have to be done within a district throughout, I'm not sure how long the period is. A 5-year period? 5-year period. And so we are working with them. We sort of walk through the buildings and say, this will need to be fixed, this needs to be fixed, et cetera. We obviously can't support all of the fixes at once. So the goal is to get a good spending plan for that. We have priorities for internal facilities projects. We are renovating the multipurpose room at Faber. We're going to be adding small offices, but we're also going to be taking out the old carpet. We're going to be looking at all of the shelving, redoing the lights. Those of you that have been in that space know it is a very, very highly used space. It's a very old space. It needs an update. It needs some love, and so we're going to give it some love. We're looking at renovating some of the bathrooms at Faber, many of which are 30 or 40 years old, and then updating the, that was the media center. The all-purpose room is where students eat lunch, so we're looking at possibly removing the stage and finding other ways that we can facilitate an increased number of students in the cafeteria for lunch, or just make that a better space, because those of you that might, for example, lead concerts in that space know that the lighting is awful, the sound is awful, the space is awful for those particular things. And so, again, looking for ways to enhance that for students. So, in terms of staffing, we are looking at adding a lot of staff members. We added a pretty large number of staff members last year as well. Many of these staff members are funded through attrition of other positions. So, for example, we're looking at 2 security personnel. We had until very recently an SRO who was fully funded by the district, who was a member of the Dunellen Police Department. That was a budgeted position, and we're able to get 2 positions out of that. We also have preschool teachers and preschool positions, which are largely paid for through the preschool expansion aid. And then we also have title funds, which are being used to pay for some of the intervention services. So at the middle school and high school, we're looking at adding an assistant principal at the middle school. Currently, the middle school does not have an assistant principal. There's 1 administrator. Previously, I think the middle school was at about 280, 290 students. Right now, the middle school is projected to be about 350 students. And we know that that is a need that will help in many dimensions at the school. We are adding another ESL teacher at the middle school, high school, and also another ESL teacher at Faber to try to meet the needs of students. Our school-based wellness specialists, 1 at LMS DHS and 1 at Faber, are the 2 that I mentioned that replace Thrive. And then we're adding a special education teacher at the high school and 2 in-class support teachers at Faber, plus a special education teacher at preschool. The goal of these 4 teachers is to improve the number of inclusion classes that are provided so that there is more push-in support available for students with special needs, and try to move students out of resource room classes if they are capable and be moved into the least restrictive environment. In addition to that, We have some district positions. We're looking at adding a community parent involvement specialist. This is someone who would be a district staff member who works with the principals and our counselors to try to connect our families who are in need with community resources. So this is a bilingual staff member who can really interface with our families and try to get them the connections that they need to ensure that they and their students are well supported outside of the schools. We're looking at adding a behaviorist, which would be primarily for support in our special class programs at Faber. District security coordinator and a class 3 SLEO, which is a retired police officer. Technology support, which would be a half-time position, which allows us to have a full-time technology teacher at the middle school, an instructional coach, and then we added a bilingual secretary already in the 23-24 school year, but this is really the first year it's budgeted as the position's currently grant funded. So quite a number of staff members added, but as you can see, the focus is really on support. Support of students with special needs, support of multilingual learners, support of those who need additional counseling or mental health supports. And then we have a focus on instruction and a focus on really improving sort of systematically the work that we're doing. So this is the priority slide. Happy to take questions at the end of the presentation on anything on here. So generally, our revenues, and if you notice, there's details that point you to the appendix slides. Our general fund revenues are shown there. We had an increase of about $4.6 million in overall general fund. We had about $1.1 million increase in special revenue fund. Our carryover funds are gone now, and we had a very, very small increase in debt service fund. And this is aid that's related to bonds related to district debt on referendum projects. From the general fund appropriations, you can see everything listed here. So these are appropriations. These are the spending side. So the revenue side is the inflow, and this is the outflow. These are the projected appropriations for next year. And you can see increases across the board in general education, special education, facilities, employee benefits, which is a really significant driver, and then a decrease in overall administrative costs and a decrease in sort of miscellaneous other items. This is the Mr. Pepe slide. So we call this this is the balance slide. It is entirely useless in some cases, but maybe it's also the most useful slide. It basically shows you that the revenues are equal to the expenditures, and you can see that in the adjusted budget from last year and from this year and the projected budget for next year, we're all squared away. Tax impact for the average household. There was a significant increase in the average home assessment in the 2024-25 school year. The average tax levy, I should say, the net tax levy is 1.94%. That's being proposed by this budget, and that's an estimated school tax of $203. Per $100,000 of your assessed value, the change is $46.61. So just for multiplicative purposes, if you had a $500,000 assessed value on your home, then your tax increase would be 5 times $46.61, and that would be the increase in the tax that you would be responsible for as a taxpayer in Dunellen. So closing information really just speaks to kind of what I've spoken about. The budget represents a strong increase in services, direct services to students, supporting staff members, and really providing opportunities for continued improved practices, a commitment to parent and community engagement, funding for facilities-related needs and plans in that respect. This has been a very inclusive and collaborative project. We've talked a lot about the budget at the board table and internally and with the public as well. We believe that it balances short-term and long-term needs within the district, and it does maintain all existing programs and staff while also providing additional enhancements in the highest areas of need. So just for sake of just showing you this, there is an appendix here with lots of revenues information and appropriations information. So this presentation is, Mr. Petzinger, available on the website or? Yes. This will be shortly available on the website. You can look at it. It's very mobile friendly, and happy to take questions.